Hi, everybody. Blessings on your new year. And yes, if you're looking at my hair, I have seen Avatar the sequel. This is actually a practical strategy to avoid having to pay for hair conditioner while I travel. Anyway, back to the guidance for the coming year. 2023 adds up to a 7. So numerologically, the theme this year is trust and surrender. Yep, 7 is the stairway to heaven. It is the number where we ascend the inner 7 gates, or the energy centers that are the different ways of seeing, the different dimensions, the different vortices. So this is when we ascend. The last 3 years have been a time of deep dive, of contraction, of going to the underworld, sorting through a lot of old toxic shadow with, you know, the South Node in Scorpio since January 17 last year. We've really been transmuting, and we'll have the lunar nodes in the Taurus Scorpio axis up until the 17th of July this year. So we're going to see a lot more disclosure, a lot more shadow truth coming out, which is going to be purifying, even though it requires that we process it, you know, that we feel the trauma, the uncomfortability of looking at the global shadow. If we do that, we reclaim our power. So if we getting back to the numerology, last year, 2022, all those twos, the focus was very much on relationships, on, you know, how we find the balance between our needs and the needs of others, and how we cooperate, how we play well with others, how we co-create, so the time of being the lone wolf is over. Now, with that flipping of the Gregorian calendar to 2023, the focus is still very much on relationships, because we've got those, you know, 2-2 in there, and the 0 amplifies the energy of the 2, but 3 is about communication. 3 is about who we are inside being seen out in the world. So this is a time when communication has never been more important in how we cooperate, in how we create. So if there's conflict, if there's misunderstandings, it's bringing it back to, okay, how did I communicate, and how can I, you know, communicate in a way that is cooperative? So the theme here is to identify our needs and speak up, because the shadow of 3 can be that you feel really sensitive, but you put on this happy face and you don't let people know how you're really feeling. And you know, 3 is about transparency. So this is when, for those of you that are still doing work, or are still in a friendship circle or a marriage, that you're putting on a brave face for, that it's not really representing who you are inside, then this is going to shift this year. Many are being asked to take a leap of faith at the moment, hence 7 being the signature number of this year. 7 is, you know, the angelic frequency, and it's when we're asked to trust spirit and to follow our soul's deepest calling, our deepest desire, even if it makes no sense rationally. This year we have 2 of the outer, slow-moving, generational planets all shifting into different signs. We have Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, known as Jove to the Romans, hence the saying, by Jove, we'll do it. Jupiter is the sign of good fortune, of expansion. Saturn, and also Pluto. So these are like the old guard, you know, we're going to see big changes in the collective consciousness in 2023. Specifically, Pluto, planet of the underworld, ruler of Scorpio, the sign of the South Node at the moment, will be moving from Capricorn, which is the old structures, the old top-down control, the fatherland, father knows best, patriarchy. So it is moving from that into Aquarius, the sign of the new age. Uranus in mythology is like the prodigal son. He is the rebel. He is the one that creates a revolution of reform, of innovation. So we are going to see huge change, transformation, and that's going to occur up until 2044. So this transit will see our unconscious, okay, because Pluto rules the underworld, our subconscious, our unconscious beliefs and choices. We're going to see our unconscious choices collectively shifting so they align more with the Aquarian energy. Aquarius being what is good for everybody, a more humanitarian way of being, rather than hoarding everything and having your empire, your dynasty. This is where we're going to see the wealth being shared with the many, people power. This transit will essentially usher in the fall of patriarchy. Yes, ding dong, the witch is dead. Witches will be returning, actually, the wise women. But, the old guard, because Capricorn is the sign of the father. And just like Nazi Germany was referred to as the fatherland during the extreme height of fascism, we are still living in a fascist culture globally, because that's what patriarchy is. It is not where men are to blame. Patriarchy is where the feminine is scapegoated and the masculine traits and values are elevated at a cost to the feminine, which translates into the earth being exploited, in women being exploited, those in the service professions, both men and women, doing the role of caring, whether it's in teaching, nursing, disability, are paid less. We're going to see that all shift and more equality, so that the feminine and the masculine are valued equally for the gifts that they bring to the collective. We are going to see these shifts happen suddenly because Aquarius is governed by Uranus, the planet of sudden change. We're going to see sudden revelations, aha moments that, the light goes on for the collective. And I'm sure during this period up until 2044 is when we will receive the shift into the photonic band of light, which will shift the group mind into unity consciousness. So the key here is that we can transform ourselves and our world through frequency, that everything is essentially energy, and that even that which seems completely dense, such as technology, is affected by energy. So once we're in the photonic light, the technocracy will become a thing of the past. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by AI moving forwards without consciousness, there will be a shift. I remember my daughter, when she was 4, just saying out of the blue, Mummy, there'll be a war with the machines, then everything will be fine. So, we are experiencing those crossroad times, and that may intensify. We're going to see, as I said, the lunar nodes, which in the ancient times were referred to as the cosmic dragon. and they represent our collective karmic lessons. These are the elliptic sort of height and depth of the moon's orbit. And they've been in Taurus Scorpio since January 17, 2022. And they stay in a sign for 18 months. So they'll be moving 17th of July into a new axis. We'll be having Aquarius for our collective north point on the compass, our north node. Did I just say Aquarius? I meant to say Aries. So, and the south node will be in Libra. So this is very much about partnership, but the North Node has us seeking autonomy. Okay, so we're looking at, from July 17, we'll be looking at the lessons we've learned in relationships and ensuring that any future relationships really have a balance of our needs and the needs of others. So no more self-sacrificing, no more codependency. The other thing I really want to say about the North Nodes, I mean, this is the lesson of love and war. So the powers that be may try to leverage war and division, you know, by, getting factions going and getting flag flying going. But we need to understand that the warrior has 3 levels of consciousness, that if we buy into us and them as a mindset, then we will just perpetuate war, okay? We polarize, see the other as all bad and all to blame, and ourselves as superior and puritanical and all good. And this just keeps the old paradigm going. So we have to be mindful of not being manipulated into a mindset of war and conflict after July 17 for the following 18 months. The next level of the warrior is, you know, when we operate from the mind and we are very politically correct, okay? We're very judgmental, and we view others as wrong so that we can cast ourselves as all right and not question our beliefs. So this is the level of, you know, using our wits to fight it out in the courtroom. The most conscious level of the warrior, and what we're asked now to do as a collective in 2023 from July 17, when the nodal axis moves, is to embody the sacred warrior. This is the rainbow warrior, somebody who takes up the fight within to heal the duality within, to heal the separation and the conflict within. And we do that by piecing together all aspects of the psyche. This is why in the ancient world, the goddess Isis helped to remember to put the pieces together of her husband Osiris. This is the role of the sacred feminine, to assist the masculine to piece together his psyche to heal. And this is the theme of my latest book, The Grail, and the programs that I'm now offering for men, which I've been running for the last 3 years. So brothers, if you feel called, now is the time. It's a very exciting time. We're going to see the sacred masculine really getting his power back after being emasculated during patriarchy. Just a word of warning, Pluto and Aquarius can evoke the shadow side of Aquarius, the sign of the new age. So what does that look like? This is especially highlighted when when Pluto in Aquarius will appear to be going backwards. It'll be retrograde in May. So shadow Aquarius can be so detached emotionally. It can be very cold and shut down. And it can then replace human connection with technology, with virtual realities. We might mistake free love for free sex without consequences. That is not necessarily loving. Love is the capacity to have compassion for ourselves and others, and to honor all aspects of self and all aspects of other. So just mixing your sexual juices is not necessarily love. In fact, it can often be a form of self-abuse and abuse of others. So this whole idea of free love as being just promiscuous is one of the shadow traits of Aquarius. Also, neglecting our familial responsibilities in order to serve the greater good. So, this is about understanding that what we need to live our teaching, we need to embody it at a grassroots level and be the change. That is the empowered reformer, rather than fighting the old guard. This is a year, and in fact, up until 2044, when we're asked to be the change, that what are we doing ourselves personally? How are we part of the solution? So Saturn will be moving into Pisces on International Women's Day, March 8, until 2026, Valentine's Day 2026. So Saturn is the planet of past karma. So having it in Pisces, the sign of the old age, the last 2,000 years, this is a time for us to wear the consequences of the choices that we made, not just this lifetime, but in all of our lifetimes over the last 2,000 years. It is when those that have been at the top of the pyramid of power will fall and will have to live out the consequences of the choices that they made. So we are going to see justice. We're going to see divine retribution. And we, as a people, do not have to administer that. The greater cycles that initiate us will enact that balancing of the scales, especially while we have the South Node in Libra, the sign of balance and justice. So we're going to see the old structures dissolve. Saturn is very much about, structures and rules and regulations. We're going to see those crumble, okay? Because that's what Pisces does. Pisces is the sign of chaos. So we're going to see chaos, but Pisces is also the sign of the mystic and of merging with spirit, with the infinite, and the awakening spiritually of, Saturn, which is the dark father, or Saturn's just the father, but he's been the dark father because he's been, shut off from his soul, from spirit. So we're going to see the return of the sacred masculine now. So especially in the role of fathering, we're going to see the spiritual side of the father aspect being called out. So we'll see more men devoted to the role of fathering. And we know how much trauma the absent father has caused. So this is going to be a very healing time for the collective masculine and for everybody as a result. My big announcement for 2023 is that I will now be offering private sessions, just 8 sessions a month, and there is a limited number of spots. So I'm announcing the bookings for January via the link below, but in future I'll be announcing them first to the subscribers on my membership. So if you miss out on a reading in January and you want one in February, there's a link below I'll put it in to join my membership. So and that's free, so that you're notified as soon as the bookings become available. So these are soul readings, since so many people are in transition at the moment. And we are being called to step up as rainbow warriors, to each play our part by following our heart, our conscience, and living the vision that is in our heart, one of my gifts, I work with Serapis Bay, one of the Ascended Masters, in helping people attune to their purpose, their calling. So if you'd like to have a session with me, I'd be thrilled. So details are below. I hope that this forecast for the year is insightful and helpful, and wish you a year of expansion after the last 3 years where we've, the number 3 is a magical number because it allows for the descent, the initiation, and the return, or the integration. And the last 3 years have been that for the collective. And the deeper we go, the higher we rise. So now is the time of us beginning our ascension, and how perfect that it's a 7-year that we begin stepping up those stairs to experience oneness with the divine. So yeah, stay tuned for opt-ins to walk that beautiful stairway to heaven with me this year. And I'm so excited to be leaving for India on January the 8th. So if you're in Goa, I will be doing events in South Goa and also in North Goa over the full moon. So stay tuned for dates there. And then I'll be going to the United Arab Emirates in March and doing events in Abu Dhabi, Oman, and in the desert. And then on to Morocco. So if you're in any of those countries or near those countries, I would absolutely love to share those events with you. All right, have a wonderful January, and thanks so much for watching. You have my blessing to share this. Ciao for now.